Namaskar. Hello friends. Spark of mumukshutva, that is desire for liberation, needs to be kept alive. Mumukshutva, the desire to attain moksha, that is liberation, is the fundamental requirement for progress on the path of spirituality. Moksha is liberation from the bondage to the perceptible world, and it is essentially an internal process by which our mind is reformed. There are no specific external efforts that directly achieve this objective. However, most of us being still attached to our limited ego, we believe we have to do something, and hence we adopt some way of sadhana, that is spiritual practice. It gives us mental satisfaction that we are doing something to achieve our objective of moksha, though the nature of effort and the extent of it by itself do not achieve moksha for us. We attain moksha when the complete worldly conditioning of our mind gets burned off. Nevertheless, sadhana becomes necessary for a different reason. Mumukshutva, the desire to attain moksha, is like a spark in the case of most of the seekers. This spark has to be kept alive by continuous fanning, otherwise, it can get extinguished by the ash that continuously keeps falling on it by way of worldly conditioning. The sadhana that a seeker regularly engages in serves the purpose of fanning the spark of mumukshutva so that it grows into a fire which will eventually burn out the conditioning of our mind. It then becomes understandable that a seeker may engage in a sadhana that suits him, and hence there are said to be many different ways of attaining moksha. There are some who have not just a little spark, but a big fire of mumukshutva inside them. They are privileged thus due to their accumulated punya karma, that is credit for past good deeds across many past lives. So these people attain moksha very quickly. Our scriptures talk of two paths to moksha. One is pipilika marga, pipilika meaning ant, and the other is vihangam marga, vihangam meaning bird. Pipilika marg is how an ant reaches a fruit at the top of the tree, which is by traveling gradually from stem to the branch to the fruit in small steps. Vihangam marg, on the other hand, is how a bird directly flies to the fruit. Most seekers have to take the pipilika marg, while a few, very few, seem to be deserving of vihangam marga. Intense desire for liberation needs to be made known to the Almighty. A few days ago, I was visiting my nephew. He is the father to 6-month-old twin boys. We were chatting in the living room of their house, and the twins were lying on their baby bedding, playing with some rubber toys. My nephew's wife was busy in the kitchen. After a while, one of the twins started crying. My nephew tried to give him another toy, but it was of no avail. Then he picked up the child and took him to the window, showing him the sparrow sitting on the window ledge. But the child wouldn't be pacified. My nephew tried a few other standard ways like singing a song and making some sound with a rattle, but nothing could stop the child from crying. Finally, the child's mother had to take him for feeding, and only then the child became quiet. While my nephew was trying to pacify one of the twins that was crying, the other one also started crying, like it happens many times. So then I had to get up and try something. Fortunately, that this child got pacified when I gave him another colorful musical toy. This is a fairly common experience, but I started contemplating on it in a spiritual context. The first child was hungry, and its single-minded focus was on its hunger. Nothing else could interest him. Also, the child was helpless in the sense that it was incapable of doing anything to satisfy his hunger. He had to depend entirely on his mother to get his feed. The only thing this child was capable of was to make his hunger known to his mother. So he cried aloud because that was the only means he had by which to call the attention of his mother. The child's father tried his bit to pacify the child, but it had to be the mother only who finally could pacify the child by feeding him. However, the second of the twins wasn't hungry, so he got pacified easily with some new distraction. People in general are like the second child. They do not really have that intense hunger or yearning for self-realization, so they can easily get attracted to some or the other worldly interest. However, the rarer, sincere spiritual seeker is like the first child. He is focused single-mindedly on the objective of self-realization. He realizes that he is incapable of doing anything much on his own to achieve that objective. The only thing that he can do is to make his desire known to the Almighty by incessantly praying. The world around the seeker tries to distract him from his objective by enticing him with many worldly attractions. However, the sincere seeker is not interested in them. That is vairagya bhav or detachment. He simply goes on crying for the Almighty's help. This crying may be in any form that suits the seeker, namely meditation, jap, that is chanting of the name of God, reading of spiritual literature, temple visits and pilgrimages, worshipping deities, attending spiritual discourses, etc. It does not matter which particular way he adopts to let it be known to the Almighty that he is keen on attaining self-realization. The reason is that it is the Almighty who has sent the soul to enjoy the duality of this creation. So, the Almighty wants to make sure that the seeker has had enough of the physical world and he has now developed an intense yearning for getting back to his eternal abode. When the seeker passes that test, the Almighty in the form of Sadguru will come and lead the seeker to his goal of self-realization. Self-realization or enlightenment is beyond physical senses. We are used to experiencing the inputs to our 5 physical senses, namely touch, sight, hearing, taste, and smell. The inputs to the senses reflect in our consciousness, thereby giving us a certain experience. All our science is based on these experiences. In other words, science recognizes only an experience through one or more of the 5 sense organs, which may be augmented by certain instruments like a microscope, for example. As these are fairly uniform across individuals, across time, across space, and are repeatable, demonstrable, and verifiable by anyone. However, there are also certain other kinds of experiences that are beyond our 5 physical senses. The most common is the experience in a dream. There is no input to our bodily senses like eyes, etc. during a dream. Yet we seem to experience as if something is actually happening in the physical world. The sensory centers in our brain seem to receive certain direct inputs from within our brain, causing us to perceive that experience as if the inputs are from the external world through our physical senses. The experience of a dreamer is not provable, yet science does not question it because scientists themselves have experienced dreams. But when it comes to the experience of enlightenment, Scientists do not accept it simply because it is unprovable and because enlightenment is indeed a very rare experience. Nevertheless, fact remains that it is as real can be, as far as the enlightened person himself is concerned. It is an experience that does not involve the physical world and the bodily senses. Instead, it arises from within. Here, within is a convenient term that simply should be understood as not from the external physical world. For all we know, the source of such an experience can be in a different dimension. Enlightenment may also be like tuning of a radio receiver to a different station. While most human beings are tuned to the physical world, an enlightened person is tuned to something different. We humans can be considered to be like the radio receivers. We know that a radio receiver cannot by itself tune to a different station. Someone else has to do it. Similarly, we humans cannot ourselves tune away from the physical world station. Someone else has to do it for us. That someone else is the Sadguru. I will stop here today. Until the next time when I see you again. Bye. Take care.